I've watched many of those Oval Office moments. It's certainly where the president likes to take hold of the spotlight and sort of use it as a platform for himself. What did you make of how that particular encounter went for the president?
Well, it seemed to start sort of in the sphere of a best case scenario when Donald Trump sort of was talking off the top, and he teased to reporters in the room like the showman that he is, that he's got a really big announcement. He's not going to get into the details now, but he's sort of building it up, talking about how in the next few days he'll deliver this major announcement. And Mark Carney, who happened to be sitting on the edge of his seat, joked, "Well, I'm sitting on the edge of the seat." And Donald Trump sort of slapped his knee and seemed to chuckle. That's not something you sort of see in a meeting with Donald Trump unless he's getting along with someone, unless he likes someone. But while there is that body language, that moment, at the same time, Donald Trump is still repeating all of his grievances and concerns that really has Canada on edge, whether it's we don't want their cars, trying to take jobs from Canada and reshore them to the United States, doesn't want Canadian energy, never say never when it came to the 51st state. That is likely what is going to stand out as sort of one of the bigger takeaways, the uncomfortable moments where Mark Carney had to sort of insert himself and interject and talk about how the Canadian position, that Canada is not for sale. Have a listen.
Mr. President, you have said that Canada should become the 51st state. Were you joking?
No. Well, I still believe that, but you know, it takes two to tango, right? But no, I do. I mean, I believe it would be a massive tax cut for the Canadian citizens. You get free military, you get tremendous medical cares and other things. There would be a lot of advantages, but it would be a massive tax cut. And it's also a beautiful, you know, as a real estate developer, you know, I'm a real estate developer at heart. When you get rid of that artificially drawn line, somebody drew that line many years ago with like a ruler, just a straight line right across the top of the country. When you look at that beautiful formation when it's together, I'm a very artistic person, but when I looked at that beauty, I said, that's the way it was meant to be. But, you know, I do feel it's much better for Canada. But we're not going to be discussing that unless somebody wants to discuss it. I think that there are tremendous benefits to the Canadian citizens, tremendously lower taxes, free military, which honestly we give you essentially anyway because we're protecting Canada if you ever had a problem. But I think it would really be a wonderful marriage because it's two places that get along very well. They like each other a lot.
Well, if I may, as you know from real estate, there are some places that are never for sale.
That's true.
We're sitting in one right now, you know, Buckingham Palace that you visited as well.
That's true.
And having met with the owners of Canada over the course of the campaign last several months, it's not for sale, won't be for sale ever. But the opportunity is in the partnership and what we can build together. And we have done that in the past. And part of that, as the President just said, is with respect to our own security. And my government is committed for a step change in our investment in Canadian security and our partnership. And I'll say this as well, that the President has revitalized international security, revitalized NATO, and us playing our full weight in NATO, and that will be part of it.
And they have.
So in that answer, Mark Carney sort of, reasserted the point that Canadians do not like that 51st state talk, that Canada is not for sale. Later in this Oval Office news conference event, Donald Trump went on to say, never say never. He came back to that point again. And then he talked about the policies that he has in place, or the policies he wants in order to build the American economy, even at the expense of the Canadian economy. So, you know, while there was a more respectful tone, Donald Trump offering compliments, complimenting Mark Carney, even laughing and sort of joking off the top, you know, still at the core of what Donald Trump is saying, it is the things that, you know, have really created such massive tension in the Canada-U.S. relationship, which is at a low point.
Yeah, and the very things that the Prime Minister himself has set as a line, a red line, that he doesn't want to hear from the President anymore in terms of respecting Canada's sovereignty. That struck me as well, though, Katie, when he said, over the past few weeks, I've met with the owners of Canada, and they're not interested in this idea, speaking about Canadians that he met on the trail. Okay, so this part in front of the cameras is done. They're now moving on to other meetings before we hear from the Prime Minister later. Give us a sense of how that might unfold.
Well, the big thing to look for next is when obviously Mark Carney is going to come out and take questions from reporters around 3 o'clock this afternoon. But it's what are we going to hear from the Trump administration officials? Often we'll see some of Trump's, his key cabinet members, Howard Lutnick, Peter Navarro, the trade advisor, Scott Bessent, who's the the Treasury Secretary. They go out on U.S. cable news and they sort of are there to speak on behalf of the president and make points for him. And oftentimes we've heard these high-profile cabinet members come out and attack Canada. So what I'll be watching for next after the closed-door session is rounded up, we're going to hear from the Canadian side, but it's what are the Americans going to come out and say? What is Donald Trump going to post on Truth Social about what happened? Is it going to take on a respectful tone? Is he going to send out his attack dogs into U.S. cable news and really go after Prime Minister Carney or maybe some of the points that he made in the Oval Office about some of those policies he wants to help grow the American economy even at the expense of Canada's? Those are the kinds of things to be watching for, because remember that the sort of the baseline goal here for the Canadian side is to start resetting the relationship so that eventually things can get back to a respectful, constructive place of dialogue and trade negotiations can begin. One thing that Donald Trump did say in that Oval Office event, was like, is there anything Mark Carney can say or anything that can be done to, get him to change his mind about tariffs on Canada? He said, no, it's just the way it is. Yeah. And so that really is the baseline of where we are right now.
Okay, Katie Simpson, glad to have you. We'll come back to you through the afternoon as well. That's Katie Simpson just outside the White House there in Washington.